Legion Commander.
Meek's assassin.
Hello guys and welcome here to another day of a Pro Dota Cup series, the SCA region. Apologies for the small technical difficulties. Apparently Dota has still not been optimized because they must not have any software engineers, working on this game or whatever. That said, we are here in the Pro Dota Cup series, the SCA region. We are watching the Mongolz versus 458 Production duke it out in a best of 2 for the second day of this new season for the SCA region, season number 7. Let's get right into the draft, but before we do so, allow me to present myself and apologize for the, again, late tardiness of the draft. My name is DSwordfish. I will be your caster for today, recorder and camera and everything. So let's get right into the draft. The Mongolz picking up the Invoker, Legion Commander, Warlock, Earth Spirit, 458 Production going a different route with the blue people, instead picking up Crystal Maiden, Abaddon, Terrorblade, Nyx Assassin, and Tinker. Mongolz missing one more hero, that being their carry hero that they can wow, Spectre. Okay, I was gonna go for something that had a bit of mobility, but the Weaver got banned, so Spectre is actually a pretty decent pickup here. Right, let's just talk really briefly because obviously the game is gonna start now. But we have the Nyx Assassin, very powerful against Invoker, quite strong against Warlock because he can commit suicide by accident, also against the Earth Spirit and against the Legion Commander. Nyx Assassin can't really catch out the Spectre, but usually can stun out the Legion Commander in the middle of her duel, can spike Carpacer in the middle of press the attack because of the attack animation for press the attack. Yeah, granted, maybe not in the lane, but definitely in a team fight. Easily kills the Invoker, easily kills the Warlock and the Earth Spirit as well. So actually, really good pickup. However, the Terrorblade not so good against what Mongolz is presenting because Mongolz has mainly has pure and magical damage. Spectre with the pure damage and some magical, and Invoker with the magical damage as a whole. And he's one of the few heroes that can actually deal a lot of damage to Terrorblade in the late game, bar Zeus and Tinker. So those are the heroes really that stand out against Terrorblade, in addition to having good amount of illusion clear. So Terrorblade going to have kind of a hard game if you consider it that way. But if you look at the drafts as a whole, this is always bugged out for some strange reason. You'll see that the Terrorblade plus Nyx Assassin draft is more looking into opening the early game a lot. And opening the map up with the Tinker and the Nyx Assassin and whatnot for the Terrorblade to farm. And while the Tinker can farm lanes and even the dangerous ones, you have the Terrorblade farming. While the Tinker's farming lanes and even dangerous ones, you have the Tinker farming. The Terrorblade farming the jungle, right? That way you get a lot of farm on your carry without sacrificing much experience, which is usually the issue on Terrorblade when he has to send illusions and has to farm very dangerous places, while not losing any farm because the Tinker is also making sure that your lanes are pushed, and also not losing too much to the Spectre. They also take advantage of putting a lot of early pressure in the lanes with the Abaddon and the Crystal Maiden, allowing them to, not only get ganks, but also counter gank if the opportunity presents itself. And in addition to that, they can actually take away a lot of the last hits from the Spectre. Then, plus that, finally, you have in this team an interesting greedy support duo, greedy support duo with the Nyx Assassin and the Crystal Maiden being the two support. Actually, no, the Abaddon and the Crystal Maiden being the two supports. The reason for them being able to pick this greedy support duo is because of how much the Tinker and the Terrorblade open the map, and because they're probably going to go Midas anyway. I would not be surprised if we saw 3 Midases this game, one for Terrorblade, one for Crystal Maiden, one for Nyx, and one for the Abaddon. So they can all make advantage of the small amount of resources they'll be getting in the map because of the presence of a Tinker and Abaddon. Now, for Mongolz, it's not as much of a synergistic draft, and this doesn't seem like they have so much in mind as much as they just want to have strong heroes and strong smaller combinations. Warlock plus Legion to make the lane secure and make it easy for you. The Earth Spirit to gank the mid lane, make it a bit easier for the Invoker, regardless of the Tinker being there or not. The rolling boulder plus boulder smash will hurt him considerably regardless, because both the Earth Spirit and the Invoker hit pretty hard physically in the early game, and the Tinker does not have too much armor early on. And, well, I mean, with no talisman, yes, but without it. And the Spectre finally has the trump card, I guess. Okay, we did it. We can go late game just in case idea. Though Spectre against Terrorblade does lose in the late game, so it's actually quite a dangerous pick, much more than believed. The idea here is they'll win the lanes, but they won't be able to get many kills, so they won't be able to snowball too much. They don't have any pushing power, so they decide, let's pick a Spectre and let's hope that the late game will be good for us, or at least 40 minutes in, 50 minutes in. And we can almost snowball out of control with a 4 protect 1 strategy. However, if you actually look at the lineup for Mongolz, it's quite dangerous, even if they do know how to play these heroes. Because you have two heroes which are kind of useless in the early game, that being the Invoker and the Spectre. Invoker needs an Aghanim, so Spectre needs a Radiance, or whatever build you're going for. Unless he's going for the Vanguard if he's a Blade build. And thus you can't really pay the 4 protect 1 route. You have to go in a gank squad of 3, which is not too effective anymore. Maybe with the Sunstrike together. Okay. That's alright. But the late game, though, is actually the problem here. Oh, that was an interesting rolling boulder. Did he get the rune? No, he did not. Actually, he's just going to feed first blood. Alright, good job there, Proxy. Unfortunate, but it gets stunned out, lasered, and boom. 4-5-8 gets the first blood onto the Earth Spirit, who tries to steal the rune, was way too cheeky about that play. Not expecting the Nyx Assassin whatsoever, for no reason. Right. And the issue, though, is that Spectre, ever since her nerf into her stat game, is actually much worse than the Terrorblade. Especially nowadays, because there's not only the nerf to the stat game, but also the fact that nobody grabs... stats don't exist anymore, so Spectre can't really make up for her terrible stats with the stat bonuses he used to get. So now it's all depending on the stat gain. You have Terrorblade, 3.2 agility per level. You have Spectre, 1.7, I believe. No, 1.8. Right, 1.8 agility per level. Quite a considerable difference, which matters a lot in the late game. The talented are also better for the Terrorblade. So it's actually going to be a really hard game for the Spectre, if it wasn't because the Terrorblade is well countered in the early game. So, honestly, the synergy and the better draft is definitely by 4-5 production. And for now, they are playing a bit better because of that suicidal kill by the... Oh, that's also another too great a play by Tengu. Eats up the Shadow Ward, eats up the slow by the rolling boulder, decides finally to TP a bit too late on the TP. Realizes far too late that they didn't have any stuns, and sacrifices himself even though he didn't need to die. Right, I would really like to present the teams, but it seems like they want to hit each other a bit more. Frostbite onto the Legion Commander, still has pressed the attack, so could have dispelled that Frostbite, chooses not to. I think it's because the Impale came at the same time, so they just wanted to make sure that they had the max amount of damage. Masquerade should still be okay. They are following him for quite a while. They have no way to body block him just yet. Terrorblade being green, that's really interesting. Impale again, and the body block fails by LFT. They should still be able to get a kill with one more hit with the Terrorblade. They don't, or they're not able to, because the Terrorblade does not have enough range. So, good play by the Legion there. I guess the stacking the stuns was necessary because he could just dispel the Frostbite and he would just heal himself, so that would have been less damage. I understand that point in the Legion Commander. It's a surprising play by Legion Commander that she could just make it out alive. The body blocking wasn't too great, granted, but the Legion Commander was also playing pretty decently. Right, now before we continue with these constant ganks that are happening, oh my god, Proxy just wants to fight again. They don't want to be presented here. 4-5-8 is now being harassed considerably, and you even have an Invoker who is coming in with a Sunstrike and a Cold Snap possibility. He is getting close to 4-5-8, but he should be fine. The second rolling boulder is available, though. They're going to commit to this. 4-5-8 is now being... Oh, no. It is not being body blocked because this Earth Spirit... that was a horrendous body block. That was a completely on Earth Spirit spot. Yep. No questions there. Right. So, to present the teams real quick. We have 4-5-8. First of all, I'll present myself. My name is DSwordfish. I will be your caster for today. And we have Tengu here in the off lane playing the Abaddon. In the mid lane, the Tinker played by 4-5-8. The first support is LFD on the Nyx Assassin. Second support being the Crystal Maiden on played by Pushin. And then finally on the Terrorblade, it's going to be Korgil for the guys at 4-5-8, the Vietnamese team. Now we have Masquerade for Mongolz in the off lane position. In the mid lane, it's R playing the Invoker. And the safe lane is going to be a Warlock playing... it's going to be a Warlock played by Aryuka. The second support being Proxy on the Earth Spirit. And finally, as the carry, it's going to be Sankey on the Spectre. So... working for now. It's been a weird game. There's been a couple mistakes already starting out, which haven't been too great. A couple misplays by both teams, but for now we're starting to see the game normalize a bit more. The Earth Spirit is not going to be able to gank too much just yet, even with the level of Boulder Smash. They used to go back to base and can't really be constantly ganking as like a Slaughter would do or an Ogre Magi would do. Can't really apply too much pressure in the lanes. He's more of the let's get a kill type of character. Terrorblade has missed a surprising amount of last hits. At first I thought it was a Legion Commander pushing him out of lane and whatnot. Or, yeah, but he's just missing last at this point. It's really unfortunate because you can see the difference starting to pile up. And 4-5-8 fighting against Arb will get the laser and heat-seeking missiles combo. And even with that cold snap, Invoker really cannot fight Tinker in lane. And this build he's going for is the build to go into Tinker. Going for a couple levels in quad, so you can actually take the harassment from his heat-seeking missiles and the laser. And even going for an infused raindrop to take away the heat-seeking missiles damage, because you know the Tinker is not going for the March of the Machines build, or has not for now. So you're gonna punish those 2 points in heat-seeking missiles by just getting an infused raindrop. And besides that, I mean, there's not much you can do as an Invoker. You're going to lose this lane no matter what. You can already see the difference happening. The laser from the Tinker is very powerful against an Invoker, who now relies a bit more on alacrity in the early game to get those last hits. And this bottom lane is also going surprisingly well for this Legion Commander. Granted, you're up against a melee hero, but Masquerade is just not playing to the best of his ability for now. If you look at it, because he's missed a surprising amount of last hits, as we've seen, basically making it so that the Spectre's beating him in farm because of well, something I wouldn't expect to say in a pro game, which is you're missing last hits. It's not even the Legion Commander harassing it, because if you compare the Abaddon to the Legion Commander's effect, this game, they're actually kind of equal, but Legion Commander can recover a bit better in the jungle. OR, keeping hit by the heat-seeking missiles, and attacked by an Assassin. Rolling Boulder to stop LFT's track movement. Oh, he's trying to survive with the Spike Corpus, but that creep, that range creep just targets him down and brings him, targets him and brings him down. And in this bottom lane, Masquerade is actually suffering no damage. They do have a Metamorphosis, so he has to be a bit careful. The Reflect can come, and Metamorphosis plus Reflection, say a Crystal Nova, and you're actually kind of screwed, so you can't play too aggressively here. For now, though, in this mid lane, we see finally a couple levels of March of the Machines happening. Oh, it's the Versatile Tinker. I believe that's what it used to be called when this build was first made. I don't remember who was that first made this build. It's not that creative, but it's a 2-2-2 Tinker. Now that you don't want to go for the full magical damage Tinker. You know, 4-5-8, dealing a lot of damage. The Boulder Smash, the Sunstrike is not going to hit him, but he's going to die anyway to the amount of damage from the Invoker and this Earth Spirit, chasing him down to Oblivion. And here we see the power of an Earth Spirit against Tinker. It's just really hard to deal with two heroes when you only have one laser, obviously. So, in this bottom lane, Masquerade is being subjected against this tower. He's actually doing pretty decent in this bottom lane. You see a reflection being used, and Masquerade could just beat Korgil to death here with simply Poem of Courage and his damage. He also has a lot of levels of overwhelming odds, so if Korgil actually plays too close to the lane, he could get punished. As we see here, Korgil's playing pretty intelligently here. It's a weird game for now. I mean, this Legion is actually getting a lot of harm without the Warlock even helping out, which is impressive. I mean, she's rivaling her Invoker, which is not that great for the Invoker, granted, but he's supposed to lose the lane anyway. And the Legion getting that many last hits is pretty decent. The Abaddon's also doing decently, obviously, in this top lane, but he's more gone into the, or relegated into the jungle role. The issue here is that the Abaddon is easily killable before he's level 6. The Legion Commander is almost impossible to kill before that level, or even before that level 6. They're going to go on Korgil, though, and get some sort of counter kill. The Haunt even comes in, and Sanke is committed to this. Korgil will die first against the damage from the Spectre. Now they want to go into Pushin. The Sunstrike is going to hit Pushin, and maybe the Shadow Ward is going to be enough to finish off this Crystal Maiden. I believe it will. She has no regen in hand, so that's a dead Crystal Maiden. A double kill for the guys at Mongolz thanks to that Haunt usage. And a really good gank by them, utilizing the Spectre exactly how you're supposed to use him in this kind of lineup. You know the late game is not too much in your favor. You know the Terrorblade also has better pushing power, so they might be able to take more objectives and thus make you look like a fool. So the best thing to do with the Spectre is actually take advantage of her Haunt ability, the big difference she has with the Terrorblade. She might not have a way to heal herself. She might not have a way to, like a Sunder, she might not have nice stats, but she does have the Haunt that allows her to take a lot of kills in the early game and snowball out of control. And even so, if you go for the Urn of Shadows Vanguard build, you can actually do a lot of damage in the early game without many items, just simply with Urn of Shadows and Vanguard. That's not bad at all for a Spectre. And with that, they'll shrine up and be set for the next matchup. TP up top, Sanke, ready. And he's just gonna be harassing the Abaddon, or sorry, getting the last hits and starting to attack in this lane. Yeah, he is gonna go for the Vanguard build. I actually really like this idea by Sanke. It turns their whole draft from being a pretty weak draft compared to 4-5-8 production to a really strong one by having that kind of a snowball potential. The only issue here would be the Invoker, but the Invoker only really needs to help with Sunstrikes early on if you're only gonna have So if you're gonna play 4 versus 5, that's fine with Invoker just helping with Sunstrikes. Actually, the issue is when Spectre and Invoker are both gone because they're both farming. That's a problem. That way the Invoker can get a fast Ags, even get a 30% experience gain attribute, which we've seen some Invokers grab if they really do think they're gonna win their early game, and then snowball out of control from there. So actually a good possibility. This Terrorblade is just not even using his illusions to farm at this point. He's just using them for vision. He knows he can't really do much. He's relegated to go to the jungle, even the small cap, which is not too great. So at least he's not dying in the lane, which is important. He's not sacrificing a duel to a Legion Commander or being attacked by a rolling boulder. So the ganks onto the Terrorblade are less efficient, or more of a waste of time. It's harder to gank this Terrorblade now that he's in the jungle because you don't have any offensive vision here. This is the most offensive vision Mongols get, and they don't entirely see the Terrorblade. So if you don't entirely know what a Terrorblade is, you actually have to, or can't play as aggressively as you would like. Can't get ganks on him. You have to let him farm his jungle, because if you do overextend, the enemy team can easily kill you. There's still a Tinker, right? So Tinker just got Trowel Boots. I believe that he just got Trowel Boots. Around minute 9, maybe 8:30, but it's pretty good timing for Trowel Boots considering you only went for bottom. I mean, you usually go for Soul Ring, I guess, if you want to have more sustained lane, but getting Trowel Boots this early is going to help his team greatly. And Invoker did go for Infused Raindrops to counter this Tinker a bit. That's very annoying heat-seeking missiles. But the Invoker need not do much. Honestly, all he needs to do right now is stay in lane, Sunstrike occasionally, and go for the full Exhort build so he can actually be a bit relevant within his team. Then get Midas and Ags, obviously, as soon as we can. But that's a granted. Even went for 2 no Talisman for the extra sustain in the lane. I don't know if it really was worth it, because when you have a really bad lane, you have to consider that every item is vital, because you're essentially playing support, because you won't be able to farm that much. And nobody's going to gank the Tinker. Well, I mean, I guess the Earth Spirit can gank the Tinker, but he was really the only one. He didn't choose to do that much. No. This Earth Spirit, the Rolling Boulder to get away, and it wasn't even a Rolling Boulder with a Remnant. Pretty smart not wasting the Remnant there if you don't need it. Why do that? Without the Earth Spirit, he loses his vantage point that he wasn't in these trees where you could just attack from behind and destroy the Terrorblade. But against a Crystal Main and Abaddon, it's kind of dangerous to go out there anyway. So I like the choice to just defend from the tower, use the press the attack, and use the overwhelming odds to just deal a ridiculous amount of damage for the Legion Commander. After all, you do have that great tower sustain, tower defense with the Legion Commander, and that overwhelming odds. It's just so beneficial to defending your structures. So just make sure the enemy team doesn't take too much of an advantage, and you'll be set pretty much. Masquerade doesn't really need to do much more. He's just trying to farm his Blink Dagger so he can start being a bit more aggressive against the Tinker. Similarly, Sanke is trying to farm that Vanguard, making her almost invulnerable to damage in this early game, except for the Tinker's damage. But you can always go for, I mean, if she goes for Diffusal Blade plus Vanguard, I would love to see that. That's a missed impale. You can always go for Infused Raindrops as well if she's scared of the Nyxes, for example. Magical damage, you prevent some of the damage from the Aquatic Shield, you prevent some of the damage from the Tinker's Heat-Seeking Missiles. Oh, that's a Rolling Boulder already going in onto the Terrorblade, almost killing him. The Mangatas also hits him, and they silence him so he can't sunder anyone. The Terrorblade goes down in too quick a fashion. The Hunt comes up, and the Crystal Maiden will die second. LFT will join him in the Land of the Dead, and the guys from Mongolz will get a triple kill up in this top lane. Thanks to the help of Proxy. That's a fantastic Magnetas and a great Geomantic Grip there that he managed to get to stop the Terrorblade Sunder. Sanke also joining in with that Haunt, a very useful Haunt there, or very good Haunt there, because essentially in the early game the Haunt is not going to be that powerful of a skill in terms of impact in a team fight, but it is certainly going to give you a lot of gold. And that allowed him to get Vanguard, which makes it much easier for him to farm, and he can now go for a bit more of an aggressive item that gives him a bit more damage, like say Diffusal Blade, or even Yasha. Honestly, the Yasha would not be a bad idea, just early on, just an early on Yasha. We have seen Spectre going for Sanjay and Yasha before. It's not too crazy. With a Vanguard, you don't usually opt for Radiant. Some people do, but usually Spectre does not opt for Radiant. And he goes for the 20 damage early on. Increase some of his physical damage. That's a really good idea. Be able to kill a Tinker a bit sooner. The 5 armor this game is not as relevant, especially when you're going against, or when you're going for the Vanguard. Well, LFT finally getting that level 6 and is going to start hunting the Spectre. They have no clue that he's here, but he really can't do much. The Tinker only has Travel Boots level 1, so I cannot imagine what he could possibly TP to around this area. Thus, LFT is kind of stuck. But he's still like some experience, that's fine. But that's all he'll be able to do. And the Smoke Egg down bottom. with a Warlock or Spirit. Not the best of smoking combos, obviously, but you should still be able to kill a Tinker, especially with a Warlock Golem available. The Rolling Boulder can catch him any second. Oh, he's gonna find him. There's the Rolling. No, there's Geometric Blink first. Now the Golem as well, and the Boulder Smash to ensure that this Tinker dies for certain. The overwhelming odds will come down from Masquerade, and those spears will pierce the heart of the Tinker. The 20% XP gain is up for this Legion Commander, who's looking to win this early, and they will now be taking down the first structure of the game, I do believe. Well, in the top lane, the guys from 458 Production do the same against another Tier 1. So it's Tier 1 for Tier 1. Both are safe lane Tier 1s. Not much. There's no benefit for everyone in that trade, obviously, except anyone in that trade, except for the death of the Tinker. The death of the Tinker is pretty huge. Being able to kill them and reduce his farm a bit. You can see the Tinker is actually farming almost as well as the Spectre is. The Spectre has decided to go for Radiance. Okay. Well, I guess that's the build then. That's the build. We haven't seen that as often. I don't dislike a Radiant Spectre, obviously, but I think in this game, especially when you want to win as early as you do, going for a Diffusal Blade or cheaper items would be a wiser choice. However, it is a Spectre's choice to... Or it is the Spectre's build, and it's not entirely wrong or not entirely bad to have a Radiance plus a Vanguard. It does give you a little bit of healing, sorry, a little bit of sustain in addition to having the mischance onto everyone, so that's pretty good. Being able to stop a Terrorblade's illusions, that's great as well, because the Spectre won't be able, I mean, she'll be able to gank, but she won't be able to crush the Terrorblade's illusions, obviously. So, I mean, yeah, I suppose it's not a bad pickup for the Spectre, but it's not too great. I would have loved to see another one of those aggressive Spectres. I believe it was Aoi who played. Who was it that started? No, it wasn't Aoi. It was Silent, maybe, that played that really Diffusal Blade Vanguard Spectre, very aggressive. Or was it Bad? Was he that one that invented it? Uncertain. Regardless, it's a nice build to see. What tower is more valuable? That's an interesting option. Well, in this case, you're actually taking away the Terrorblade's jungle with this bottom tier 1, whereas in top tier 1, taking away, say, the Legion Commander or the Invoker's jungle, not as important. Invoker doesn't utilize the jungle as much. Spectre rarely utilizes the jungle. I mean, he's usually going to be in lane because of his ability to escape with Spectral Dagger and the fact that he went for Vanguard, right? So, actually, this tower is a bit more important. Or, sorry, this tower is a bit more important because you're going to take away all this area. Actually, probably all this area, like this last triangle I signaled. And that is quite concerning if you are the Terrorblade, because you won't be able to recover too much if they start hunting you, rather, not, no pun intended. If they start hunting you in the night, you know, just with duels and with sunstrikes, you're taking advantage of the lack of vision that you have. You'll need to recover somehow, and recovering the jungle won't become an option, so you'll have to recover in lane, thus giving the option for the enemy team to gank you. And the Legion Commander is really close to that Blink Dagger as well, so that means that a Tinker who will want to utilize the lanes won't be able to either, because the Blink Dagger, I mean, Legion Commander just blinks in, boom, duel, Tinker's dead, no matter what happens, because Tinker will die to a Legion Commander's Blade Mail already, but Tinker will easily die to a duel plus a Sunstrike. It's just guaranteed, and he will never be close to creeps because of how you play Tinker. You know, usually blink in the trees and you start marching the machining. It's actually a surprising counter for the Tinker. Though Nyx is obviously the best counter for the Tinker, and that's why it's good that they picked them together. The Nyx is the Legion Commander because of the fact that she grabs a Blade Mail, which is well, Death Trap for the Tinker because of his lack of HP, and the fact that the Legion Commander also is able to catch him out of the trees easily, which is simply a Blink Dagger, or even better, a Force Staff from his team. You know, Force Staff into Blink, the Tinker won't be able to escape that at all. He'll always die in that duel, and the Sunstrike even adds the damage to it in case the Tinker, you know, thought you could laser him or something. Even the Tinker lasers the Legion Commander early on, it doesn't really matter because you have, again, the Blade Mail, which in the middle of the March of the Machines will kill the Tinker for sure, and you still have the Sunstrike. So on top of that, they even have an Earth Spirit to also annoy the Tinker with his Rolling Boulders and the Golem Chaotic Offering, so it's actually not that great of a pick if you think about it that way. It works decently against the Invoker, but the rest of the heroes, including the Spectre, just completely decimated. There seems to be a blackout by the guys at 458. That's unfortunate. I do believe they are a team from Vietnam, and I do believe they live in Vietnam, so don't know how the electrical conditions are there. Hopefully they're not. It doesn't seem like they're all playing together because only one disconnected because of the fact that they said the sec seems like there's a blackout. Hopefully though they'll come back. more swiftly. But not, I mean, there's not much more analysis to do. They even have a combo of the Legion being able to duel someone, and then you alacritying the Legion. And that actually becomes a concern later on in the game, which is that even though Mongolz does not have per se the better late game, you do have a Legion Commander against a Terrorblade, and the Spectre is more going to be, you know, your carry, but she doesn't really particularly deal with 1v1. She's more of a team fight impact carry, similar to how Gyrocopter worked. Right? You never consider, well, Gyrocopter beat the enemy team carry in 1v1? No, because that's more of a Razor Slark Terrorblade job, where you really only have impact in a single position. However, in this case, what Mongolz is picking up is a Spectre, for example, similar to a Gyrocopter, that has a lot of impact in the team fight. He's going to be able to kill the Crystal Maiden, the Nyx Assassin, the Abbot on a 7. The Tinker and the Terrorblade are going to be a completely different story. And then you have the Legion Commander, who can actually overwhelming odds. The Terrorblade Illusions should be able to kill almost every single one of them every single time. It would be surprising if he didn't. And on top of that, duel the Terrorblade with the Alacrity odd. And a Legion Commander, I mean, she only needs 100 damage, and then plus the Alacrity, she's going to be able to kill everything, including towers. That's the hard part. 458 has a decent amount of push with Terrorblade, but once the Legion Commander gets duels, her push is actually superior to the Terrorblades because it's not a flat increase, you know. It's not like the Metamorphosis where it always increased by 80 damage, or yeah, 80 damage at level 4, and it'll always increase by that much, and you'll never get any better. It's better than that because you're actually constantly getting new damage, and the Alacrity just gives you the attack speed that you need. And once Invoker maxes Wex, then you have this tower pushing machine that is the Legion Commander against the Terrorblade. But the Legion Commander also has a bit of team fight, and if she catches out the Terrorblade in a duel, then he can't sunder anyone. So that Legion Commander, very, very powerful as a hero. There's a reason why she's being first pick, first ban against all these heroes in the meta. She actually offers a lot of versatility without sacrificing too much because of her strong laning experience, or strong laning phase. At that moment of courage and press attack give her so much sustain that people really underestimate her, not only in the laning phase but in general. And that is not good because Legion Commander is one of the stronger heroes in lane. Okay, I thought something important happened. The music is just turned on. For those of you wondering what this terrain is, by the way, this is the spring terrain, I do believe. I like the little the undertones it has. I don't want to use the Dark Reef terrain, even though I do have it because I'm an addict to Dota. Because it's a bit confusing. Some people might get really confused, especially if you don't have the battle pass, and that's not the case. You know, but I do want to hype people up for the international, which is going to be coming very soon. TI7, yeah, TI7, and. Anyway, but what's important about that international is the fact that, you know, it's just coming very soon. And I still put the music on because it hypes you, right? It's important. I want the prize pool to, you know, surpass everything that has happened until now. It's great. Okay. Let's hope that he can come back soon. This seems to be dead. That's unfortunate. It would really be unfortunate they had to unpause. I don't know what I don't actually know the time. I believe it's 20 minutes pause time. I'm actually just taking that out of my ass. I'm not entirely certain what time the people will unpause. I'm not the admin, obviously, thank Christ. I'm just a caster. We have the admin here, just asking. Obviously, since it's SCA, they can be really reasonable. These teams are actually surprising. I mean, for those of you who don't know, because you never organized tournaments, you never asked, SCA teams are surprisingly, or not surprisingly, I guess, but I guess for being Dota players, they're really, really kind and on time, and, you know, they always respect the rules and whatnot. So it's very nice. So playing with them, you usually end up giving them a bit more leniency because of how genuinely nice and rule-abiding they are. So, you know, someone has a blackout because of internet conditions. You say, all right, sure, I know the pause time is so-and-so, but if you can tell me that he's going to come back in a couple minutes, then I'll believe you, because why not, right? Because the whole point is not to play a 4 versus 5. Nobody wants to do that. The Amazon ProDota Cup has never forced someone to say, okay, you know, this is your decision. You can unpause whenever you want. That's horrendous, but because obviously these guys respect the admins very much, so it would be unfair to put them in that situation. I really hate when people do that. Oh, okay, well, yeah, time is up. You can unpause if you like, team. It's like, well, okay, now we look like bad, like mean people for unpausing, and it's not fair to do. Obviously, it's not fair to do that and force a team to have to enforce the rules. Regardless, in the ProDota Cup they don't do that, so that's important. Okay, well, we're just kind of waiting for the pause to go. If this is don't, I guess, yeah, I usually don't like recording these pauses, but in these cases, I feel like it adds to the experience because it's like watching the whole thing on stream. For those of you that then can't watch this match because either hitbox doesn't work for you or because you know the I don't know, the video player is not good enough or you have bad internet connection, I do upload these on YouTube later on, so you can watch all the replays there. For those of you watching on YouTube, then hello, welcome. I don't care if you watch on my channel or I don't care if you subscribe to my channel or anything of that sort. I usually just put it on Twitter. And so follow me on Twitter, and then I'll post all the replays at some point, or just look up the name of the game. I make it so it's like a replay archive more than if it's more than a look at my cats channel, because I think that's excessive. These are the teams that are playing, and so people can watch the game. That's it. So if you do ever miss a game, or you think, oh, I wish I could watch this game, or that game seemed interesting, or I wonder what happened in that game, just watch or write the name on YouTube, or search for ProDota Cup Season 7, I do believe, or SCA Season 7, this is the Season 7, and just look up what the match is, because I usually upload them on the day of the match occurs, and then, you can watch them immediately. And if it's not up there, then feel free to send me a tweet at DSwordfish. I always put my Twitter at the end of the broadcast, and then you can see if I've uploaded it or not, or feel free to request it. Honestly, the only time I won't ever upload something is if there's a technical issue in the uploading, and that way I'm forced to, usually I don't want to upload like half a game in the best of 2 or half a best of 2, so I just won't upload the whole best of 2 if there's a technical issue. Otherwise, everything will be up. And since I'll be casting the whole SCA PD Cup, then we'll have the pleasure of being able to see all those replays on YouTube. It's always nice. And the videos on YouTube do include ads, for those of you wondering, but only the ads for the Cup. I suggest you watch them with ad block and whatnot. Feel free. That's not the issue. It's just that the ads are part of it recorded, because obviously people pay us, or pay the ProDota Cup organization for those ads and for the exposure. And it's when you watch the replay, even though it is my voice and my replay technically, it's just out of courtesy to show their ads as well within the video. But I mean, this situation that's happening here happens a surprising amount in SCA, which is that they actually work with much more infrastructure. It's similar in SA, because if you guys don't know, my usual job is being a Spanish caster for BTS, but I do English on the side because I enjoy it, and it's a fun cast, and obviously helping out my buddies from PD Cup. But it's an issue similarly in the South American region, same as the SCA region. There's a huge infrastructure missing, and the internet companies are already really bad in the first world countries. Imagine in third world countries, it just doesn't really work as well. There's a huge monopoly by almost every single internet country. If you actually research this, you'll see that there's a monopoly of the whole internet connection, and the only country in the entire world who has fair service laws for internet companies is literally the UK, where they have a test for everyone, a public test, a governmental test, a speed test. Otherwise, every single internet company in the world, and there's actually a clause within them, is they say that the only speed test that they'll allow is their own speed test, which obviously is well, open to manipulation and whatnot. It's actually kind of ridiculous when you think about it, how terrible the situation is with these things. Actually, Estonia and South Korea also have pretty good rules as well because of their human rights to have internet. Besides that, all right, that's it. That's done for the little rant about internet. And for those of you wondering, I'll say people I know who don't come from countries with really bad internet, but it's actually quite a huge issue, especially for Dota. If you want to play esports and the reason why you lose is because of your internet, it's really annoying. And yes, that seems unfortunate. Seems to have disconnected again. Ooh, that's not good. Probably gonna have to play 4 versus 5 because there is a limit to the amount of time they can be playing. For those who don't know, I mean, continuing on the little internet companies rant, it's common for most internet companies in the country to just rent cables because it's cheaper, but usually it's 1 to 2 companies from 80 to 90% of the cables, and that way there's a huge monopoly because they can actually put whatever speeds they want and whatever speeds are convenient to them and charge whatever you want, which is the issue that's currently happening with Comcast in America. And if you do really want to stop this, the best thing to do is honestly talk to your representative, your political representative, because the only reason why the internet companies are not regulated is because nobody has decided to. It's too new a technology for people to actually submit legislation and regulation. But they should be under the same, you know, fair market laws as everyone else. And the issues like these wouldn't happen as often if electrical companies and internet companies and stuff were held reliable for their faults. Obviously, nobody would want to become an internet company or internet provider if you were held liable for all your faults, but some of it should be the case. Right, we're back into the game. Cool. Resume the game. It says Mongolz, and they come back with a terrible hit. Okay, finally back. That's good. And no, but they've taken the trade of tier 1 for tier 1, so we've understood now that the tier 1 down bottom is a bit more valuable than the tier 1 up top, simply because the jungle is much more of a useful resource for the guys at 458 than it is for the guys at Mongolz. However, the guys who can open the map a bit further is the guys at 458, and they could put a bit more aggression together with this Tinker. Now, that's just the Metamorphosis finally used to take a tier 2, and this trade would definitely not be beneficial if you guys are on Mongolz. They don't have a Golem, Brock, LFT, about to stun. They does get the Legion Commander. They start healing him up with a Shadow Word, and the Heat-Seeking Missiles hit, and the Frostbite as well. They're gonna finish her off before she can get a duel or absolutely anything. That TP only coming with a Legion Commander and a Warlock, maybe not the best of ideas. The Invoker stayed in the mid lane, trying to farm up that Aghanims. And the mid lane, we see a little bit of a gank from Tengu. The Spectre has a heart, so he can help anyone if need be. But right now, the Invoker's been left alone, and they are trying to gank him. The Nyx Assassin also joining in. Seems like in the end, Mongolz will be able to make it alive. The Spectre's also trying to farm out his Radiance. That's the issue. You're going to have a kind of a downtime for Mongolz where you really need to acquire that Radiance farm, like now. And you're not going to be able to do much in this downtime against 458, who's going to be putting a lot of pressure, taking advantage of that Tinker pick. Because Tinker farms, he farms very aggressively, so he's not one of those AFK farming guys. He just kind of goes around the map, you know, TP's close to you, lasers, heat-seeking missiles, pulls you out of the lane. It's interesting I even went for the heat-seeking missiles build. We haven't seen this in a while. Just for pure harassment strategy. And if he finds a Spectre, he can easily force him to stop farming, which is the most important part here, right? Delaying that Radiance as much as you can so that the Spectre can't be part of it. Oh, they actually found the Tinker. Sunstrike the Haunt even used, and they killed the Tinker in a matter of seconds because of a great rolling boulder at Proxy. He was waiting for that Tinker the whole time. This is what we were talking about. Both him and the Legion Commander actually have great mobility skills that allow them to catch out the Tinker easily, just with the help of a Sunstrike. That Sunstrike is almost max level, considering that you still have the extra level from Aghanims, and it deals a ridiculous amount of damage already. 475 pure damage, and the next level giving him an extra 60. With 475 pure damage, that's according to Tinker's health, that's almost half of his health. It's almost half of his health. So a rolling boulder, a boulder smash, a couple hits, and even the Haunt, which can be used. They have a great global strategy here, the guys from Mongolz, and they're taking advantage of it, which is fantastic. Usually you see a lot of these global strategies more concentrated along the lines of, well, usually just use the Legion Commander with the Invoker, and the Spectre farms much more often. They don't use that Haunt as often to get kills, or to get more kills for the Spectre. It's more of an Eternal Envy sound. It's an old Spectre kind of play. The new Spectres are much more farm oriented, but it's good. It's a good way that Sanke is playing. It is one of his best heroes, mind you. Sanke is a great Spectre. He's very used to playing Spectre. Is actually one of the few heroes. He's one of the few guys that I saw playing Spectre back when he was absolutely horrible and he couldn't win a single game. So it's nice to see him now that the Spectre is a bit more relevant in the meta. No 458, careful. Yeah, because Proxy there. won't be able to finish him off, but the Sunstrike can do it. Oh, there's the press attack, like the overwhelming odds that almost destroys himself, and the Nyx Assassin actually dealt a lot of damage. The Golem died in a matter of seconds and just fed the Terror Blade, so that's not too good. The Rolling Boulder comes in though, and stuns 3 at the same time. The Sunstrike's gonna come out and almost destroys the Nyx Assassin, but the Earth Spirit's gonna sacrifice himself as a result. There's no mana for the duel, and in the end, the guys at Mongolz are trying to find a 4 versus 5 that's not working for them, while the Spectre is trying to farm up that Radiance. And they're also trying to kill that Terror Blade, but it's not working out for them at all, because that Terror Blade's hitting really hard and not letting the Invoker get close to him. They're going to take the tower, are in trouble because the Frostbite's available. They're going to stop him from Ghost Walking away for now. The Deafening Blast is available, but the Freezing Field doing a lot of damage, and Laser's going to finish him off, and now Masquerade has to go back to base. Oh, the Spectre just comes in quickly for that Terror Blade kills, goes into the push in, and instead they're going to get the duel onto this Crystal Maiden. One hit from the Spectre, and he's dead. Sanke getting that double kill in this lane. Now going for Tengu, who has the borrow time, so he should be fine. The double impale, fantastic by LT, going on to the Spectre. In comes the Tinker, wants to join in with the heat-seeking missiles and laser. That combo, which destroys the poor Sanke, and he will even kill Masquerade. No, the Blink Dagger evades the heat-seeking missiles. He is able to make it out alive, just barely. But in the end, Sanke playing a bit too greedily, biting off a bit more than he could chew, and suffers the consequences as he now has to start. I mean, he was almost halfway through the recipe when he died, lost all that, has to keep on going. I mean, has to buy a Sacred Relic and then soon enough go for that recipe. He is, after all, he's after all around the right good timing for the ratings, especially with the Vanguard, minute 20 and whatnot. I mean, I believe minute 20 is actually what you're supposed to happen for Radiant's Vanguard, so that's good. I mean, that's actually really good for them, because if the Spectre had delayed himself ever so slightly, you would be quite screwed. Actually, it might not get a minute 20 considering this death just happened, and disconnection by the Terror Blade. Very unfortunate. That is, I feel bad for the Terror Blade, but there's really nothing you can do here if you're 4-5-8. You know, just stop him from having blackouts. But of course, that's not going to happen. If you look at the game right now, it's actually surprisingly even for both teams, because the Tinker has farmed himself really well. The Abaddon with his Midas has become really relevant, and he's going to go himself for the Radiance. And the bad part about this is that the Abaddon is actually really close to his Radiance, akin to the Spectre. And the Abaddon Radiance nowadays is almost as powerful as the Spectre Radiance. You don't have the global presence that the Haunt gives you, but the Abaddon's much more tanky than the Spectre is because of his borrowed time. If he goes for a Blink Dagger, the Abaddon actually might become a stronger carry than the Spectre is, again, because her stat game was severely nerfed, and that actually really stopped her carry potential. She's not really that strong of a carry anymore, and obviously there's no other position to play her, but she's not really that strong of a hero anymore. And with that Radiance coming quite late, it's not the snowball they were looking for in the early game. The only thing that gets the saving grace is that 4-5-8's Terror Blade is not snowballed out of control just yet, because he is a Terror Blade, and he hasn't been able to find that much space to farm. However, once he does, once they do get the grip of this game, they could do a lot. Oh, that was Proxy a bit too soon with that Boulder Smash, and now that he knows he's wasted it, Tinker's going to come in, does not see Proxy. Fantastic TP there from Proxy, completely preventing that heat-seeking missiles laser Dagon combo, because that would have killed him. So that works out for them. Well, actually, what's really good about the Tinker here is that you can go with the Nyx Assassin and get level 2 Trial Boots, and then actually get a lot of kills with the Nyx Assassin, because they haven't been concentrating too much on countering this Nyx. And since the Nyx is a support player anyway, he can actually commit suicide much more often. He already went for the Blink Dagger and his Arcane Boost. Doesn't really need many more items to be a successful Nyx Assassin. So now with the Tinker maybe getting the level 2 travels soon enough, you know, to go for the Ether Lens and the Dagon build, so it's not going to happen too often or too soon. But I can imagine him going for level 2 travels, prioritizing that over a couple levels of Dagon, because that way you can just go with Mixed Assassin and gank, similar to having a Sunstrike on your Invoker, and you pretty much have the same global presence I think any team has. Proxy, by the way, is hanging on the trees before these guys take this tower, and Korgul decided to take this tower, but this is quite a risky engagement if you guys are 4-5-8, because Mongolz can still attack you anytime, and you are fighting against an Invoker with Ags, and that Invoker with Ags is a lot of spell power coming in, which you're not expecting, right? However, the March of the Machines gives you a lot of security. This Earth Spirit is not allowed to really gank, and they were waiting for the Radiance on the Spectre to finish for them to be able to really attack. Meanwhile, the Abaddon is not... oh, actually, he is about to finish that Radiance. That is ridiculous. So the Abaddon and the Spectre both will get 22 minutes in. Oh, and there's a team fight starting. The Frostbite onto the poor Warlock. Gets the rock before he dies. Won't die, actually, in the end. The Nyx, though, will be fried to a crisp, similar to the African Bugs, and the Crystal Maiden will also go down thanks to the duel. And now Mongolz will be taking 2 guys for the price of none. 2 supports granted, but hey, it's better than nothing. As the rest of the team from 4-5-8 will decide to retreat, as they should, and the Abaddon will finally finish up his Radiance. So that's Spectre versus Abaddon already completed. Seems like the Abaddon actually is really close to the Spectre's ability to farm, and now with the Radiance, if for every space they give this Sanke, they're going to get the same amount of space to the Abaddon. Meanwhile, in the middle lane, they actually get a kill on Korgul. Fantastic Impale. Now, with that Mana Burn, allows them to get a revenge kill. But getting a kill on Terrorblade, super surprising. I think the Rolling Boulder just came in and he crushed him, but that shouldn't have happened. Obviously, losing your Terrorblade quite big there. And you don't really want the Abaddon to actually be a carry. I'm just kidding about that. Sanke is getting a bit of damage from the March of the Machines, has to retreat, but the rest of the team is just going for him. The next Assassin has a Vendetta. They also have a New Land Sword. There's the Blink Dagger. Wants to stop him with the Radiance. He did turn his Radiance off. Very smart by Sanke, but the Frostbite stopping him in his tracks. He wants to leave with a Spectral Dagger, and he will be able to do so. LFT got duped by that Spectre. Jebaited, I think is the term in Dota, because turning the Radiance off, very clever. You should have just attacked him once. If you attack him once, you get the dispersion damage, and then I think the dispersion should trigger Spike Carpus. It should trigger Spike Carpus. So yeah, just attack him, get the dispersion damage. That was a bit of a misplay by LFT. He didn't have to use the Impale. He wasted Spike Carpus completely, because he assumed that he was going to have Radiance on, which again was a good play by the Spectre, but certainly a better way of executing that if you were LFT. Now Sunstrike is going to attack the Roshan. I don't know if they care too much about it, because Tango seems quite determined to just take this. Sorry, Korgul seems quite determined to just take this. They do have the help from the Curse of Avernus, the Aphotic Shield, but there is going to be a smoke cat coming in from the Mongol side, and they're ready. 2 sentries put down, because why not? They want to make sure that they see the Nyx double, because you know, if it's super invisibility, then this is the way to counter it. Obviously, double sentries. No kidding, but that Vendetta is not going to be too useful in that team fight. However, they do see that ward. They don't expect any sentries to be around this area. The next Assassin will be discovered. That could be an easy duel. The Dust is being used onto LFT, but LFT blinks away. Why do they use the Dust? They had no clue the sentries were there, but in the end, they're going to lose a very valuable possible kill onto LFT, and they want to still fight this Roshan, but the Roshan's about to go down. They're going to take it. It's going to be Korgul who takes the Aegis, and now the fight starts right as the Aegis lost, but the Spectre coming in with a Haunt, dealing a lot of damage, actually. Taking down the Tinker, the Nyx Assassin, and the Crystal Maiden. Now the Tornado catching out 2. Masquerade is ready with the duel, waiting for them to come down. The Rock even, and this Wombo combo works wonders for Mongolz. The duel has been saved for the Terror Blade's respawn, as it's been used now in the middle of the ice wall. The Terror Blade will just be brought down by Mongolz' power, and that was a really good team fight by them. Taking the Roshan, sure, they lost it, they lost the Aegis, and they didn't take a kill on the Nyx Assassin early, but the fact that they waited so long meant they were so confident that they could take it, and that worked out really well, because they were confident, and it was true that they should have been confident. And with that, they were able to take 2 tier 2s, if not even a tier 3, because the enemy team is going to have a hard time defending this, only with a Tinker, and you're still fighting against the Legion Commander. It's about to get her duel back up, and with a Blade Mail. That means the Tinker is not as good at defending this high ground as you think he is. And okay, that's a lot of damage actually going the Legion Commander's way. LFT, with the Radiance turned off. No, okay, he's not going to stun himself just out of luck, I think. But Sanke is just keeps attacking this tower. I mean, that's what they have to do. The heat-seeking missiles will become quite annoying, but there's no Ags just yet. The Impale stops the Earth Spirit from TPing away. Very clever Impale. Proxy wants to survive, though. There's a Spike Carpus. The Boulder Smash hits the Crystal Maiden, but LFT will just finish him off with a Mana Burn. And the rest of Mongolz will have to retreat from this fight. Sunken now grabs the Yasha, is close to getting the Monto style. He has not beat the Terrorblade considerably in terms of farm, which is good. It's very good that he's able to do that. And this Leech Commander, so with 42 dual damage, I mean, it's not that much, but it's enough. And the dual damage is not as important anymore unless you want to push too much in early. Since the Leech Commander's goal is to get to level 25 anyway, the whole point here is to get to level 25, get the plus 40 damage. No, it's not, this is Tengu, so I assure you it is LFT. Oh, I see what you mean. Oh, okay. Is that Tengu then? And then who's this guy? Thanks, by the way. Oh, that's an interesting comment. I wasn't actually thinking about that. Anyway, the plus 40 damage will give you the extra lake that you need, regardless. So not really that big a deal. Oh, wow. This Nyx Assassin is really determined to get this kill, but there's no Nyx, or there's no Tinker around. The Heat doesn't hit him anyway. And there's a duel onto the Nyx Assassin. They will get him with the Haunt, and the duel will be a winner for Masquerade as they kill the Crystal Blade as well. This Legion Command, sorry, this Spectre is just running towards the Abaddon. They have to stop this ultimate somehow. There is the Yol Scepter from the Invoker, stopping the TV from happening, and the Burrow time won't matter as Sanke will just finish him off based on auto attacks. Tries to deny himself with one last missed coil, and it won't work. Right, interesting. So I thought Tengu was the Abaddon, but apparently it's not. So Tengu is the Nyx Assassin, and alright, okay, that's right. I'll just call him Nyx from now on. It's kind of frustrating when they don't put their actual names. And my motto is always, you know, if you don't put the real name on, then you don't deserve the credit, right? So don't complain when they're doing, like, if you don't put the real name on, you just insult them and be like, wow, okay, you don't want to play, okay, fine. You don't want people to know that you're playing. Alright, Stinker is dead here. Sunstrike really easy. I mean, that was the combo there Spirit was waiting for the whole game. Sacrificing himself for this combo is definitely worth it. I mean, he even tries to use a Boulder Smash here to save his life, but that's not going to work out. The Boulder Smash didn't hit the Nyx Assassin to begin with, but obviously with a Rolling Boulder, I mean, it was a great Boulder Smash, and then a Rolling Boulder, he might have been able to survive. Regardless, it's a good trade anyway, because they did get a kill on the Tinker, and that kill goes to the Invoker. Right. Yeah, he does. It's because the Sunstrike deals a ridiculous amount of damage. So, congratulations. And with that, we do get a lot of space now for the Spectre to farm. Now with the Monta style, he's a bit more dangerous. He can also dispel the laser. That's very important. And he'll have the Diffusal Blade next. And the Diffusal Blade is not only a really good item because it works for the illusions, which is, you know, a very big point, but it's also the fact that the Diffusal Blade is one of the biggest stat sticks in the game, actually, for an agility carry. It gives you 25 agility, third best, yeah, well, fourth best if you count Diffusal Blade level 2. But so fourth best item in the game in terms of agility gain. Right after Ethereal Blade, Butterfly, or Ethereal Blade, Diffusal Blade 2, and Butterfly. And with that, you're actually quite golden because your illusions kill a ridiculous amount of damage because they scale based on stats. You also have the Mono Bird ability and the Purge ability, so you can chase down people, which is a huge thing. And you still have the extra armor, which the Diffusal Blade gives you, which even though Spectre does not do so well with armor, she usually likes to go for HP rather than armor because of her dispersion ability. The extra armor you get from Diffusal Blade still makes up for the lack of stats. You know, ever since that nerf, you do want to get more agility in, because now that she doesn't have that great of an agility gain, it's a bit easier to gank with physical damage. And when you're up against a Terrorblade, you don't want to be, well, you know, made out of paper. So it's nice that you can get all those stats in one. And now plus the Monta style, that thing just works wonderfully. We've already seen that Monta style Diffusal Blade build go on so many heroes. I mean, we've seen it on Juggernaut, we've seen it on Lightstealer when Miracle was playing. And who else we saw recently? I mean, we've seen it on the Void as well. Nature's Prophet. Once when Ramses played Nature's Prophet. I mean, we've seen so many heroes. It's just an OP kind of combo between items. So it just works wonders. The amount of agility gives you is insane, and the amount of versatility gives you be able to purge off both allied and so both buffs for the enemies and debuffs for yourself. And with Monta style with Diffusal Blade and Monta style respectively, and the versatility being able to give you extra movement speed plus a purge to chase down someone is just great. It's honestly just a pretty good combo. Don't know why I was talking about that for so long. It's just people don't consider the Monta style Diffusal Blade has been a thing for a while now. The Juggernaut and the Void and the it's a variety of heroes actually pick it up. Oh, that EMP is not going to hit the Abaddon. Oh, it is going to hit the Abaddon. That's pretty good. Okay, taking away the Abaddon's power. That's not bad. The Tinker's actually just going to be putting a lot of pressure here. And another disconnection by Corgo. Tinker's going to be putting a lot of pressure here in the lane, and he's going to be able to protect his tier 1 or tier 2 tower decently. However, the whole point of Mongolz' strategy is let the Tinker show himself, and then once he does, we'll just rolling boulder and sunstrike him and then kill him. That's the whole point. And if that happens, then you're screwed, because there's really no counterplay you can have as a Tinker besides maybe trying to rearm blink away. But he's not going for the blink dagger just yet. He's going for the Aghanim so he can stay even farther away. So here the idea will be that Mongolz will just kill the Tinker, then they start pushing, and their push won't be able to be stopped because you'll have a Legion Commander with Alacrity, an Invoker with a extra Forge Spirit as well joining in, and this is going to be really hard for you. He's missing 1 level in Walks, 1 level in Claws, interesting. And then, nothing I'd say, 1 level in Claws, 1 level in Walks, sorry, 1 level in Claws, 1 level in Wex. And then the level in Tornado cooldown. Because when you get the Tornado cooldown, it's even harder being the Tinker. There's an argument for the Deafening Blast, certainly, if you don't know if it's like a makeshift Shivas. Right? Because you don't know where the Tinker's going to be, you just do it in an area, and it's such a huge area of effect, plus your Octarine Core that you'll get at some point in the game, maybe, that it works out. However, the minus 18 second Tornado cooldown is just so much better if you do know where the Tinker's going to be, if you have, vision of him or anything of the sort. And though the Deafening Blasts are right against illusions, a well-placed Tornado has the same amount of damage against the illusions anyway. So I wouldn't say it's that big a deal. I would definitely go for the Tornado cooldown, just because the Deafening Blast doesn't have much use. I haven't really seen the Deafening Blast be very useful unless you go for specifically a Blink Dagger Invoker and you're kind of playing him almost like a Tide Hunter. Ever since they nerfed the Deafening Blast so it doesn't actually carry a stun, then it's just not that big a deal. People asking Rexargon Kaelin versus Nasty Potatoes. That got moved. They said yesterday. Give me a second. RQ versus Napple. The match has been moved to May 12th at 4 SGT. That's why we don't have that game today. R being killed by the Shadow Ward. Okay, and Alacrity in. Masquerade. Oh, he has a Shadow Blade now. That Shadow Blade I really love because it's the best counter to Abaddon. Okay, 4-5-8. It does not seem looking too good now. I believe there's a limit in pauses as well. I think it's 5 pauses, so they're actually exceeding their pause level. I understand that there's a delay in the match, Tony and GG. There's only me in the ProDota Cup here, so I either answer you by chat or answer you in the cast, and it's much easier to do it this way because I'm taking control of everything. But for those asking, and so because people don't always read the chat. For people asking though, the Nasty Potatoes versus RRQ game got moved to May 12th at 4 SGT, which I think is 9 CEST. So for those of you wondering, that's it. I also believe that if you're not watching the cast or whatever, and you just come in to ask a question, I'm not going to answer you. It just doesn't seem fair. If you're not going to listen to the whole thing or watch this game that's currently going on, because it's a lack of respect towards the teams who are playing right now. Right, let's see. Masquerade with the Shadow Blade. Careful. Because he is going to be killed. Okay, that was a weird blink. There's a Haunt anyway. No, Sunstruck is going to hit. And 4-5-8 being destroyed by the duel. The Impale comes and hits the Spectre. But, I mean, LFT. Oh, no. He's stuck between a rock and a hard place. The Bulldozer match comes out, and it's an equal stun to the Spike Carpus. They're just going to finish him off. Meanwhile, in the top lane, they've just left this Warlock alone. In comes the combination of the Grok plus the Tornado. Great combination. However, they're actually going to kill Pushin regardless. Pushin being dealt a lot of damage with the Meteor. He should die anyway, despite this Glimmer Cave. No, he'll actually survive. Corlo, though, fighting against just a Golem, and they definitely left to push him back. He can't use the Sunder in time. That Abaddon will just be Yule Sceptered away into the Ice Wall. Now the Cold Step to stop Tango from moving too much, and he dispels it out with an Falling Shield. Did not work too well for him, but in comes Masquerade. He has a duel. He's ready to go on pushing. The duel would be better used onto the Abaddon, and no, it's a 4 seconds still a duel. Just kill them both. Say screw it. Why get the extra damage when you can just get double kill? And the guys from Mongolz will take this match or this team fight basically because of how well R played in that engagement. They would just hide it completely, preventing the Sunder very early by Terrorblade. That was really clever. And I think if they forced Sunder early, because I couldn't see the whole team fight. Maybe they forced Sunder early, but then with a Deafening Blast preventing him from attacking, and there was no way of curing him. I don't know why Terrorblade was fighting against the Golem though, considering they didn't have Sunder. Now in hindsight, now that I see it, doesn't make much sense. Either that or he used it at the end of the team fight, and I couldn't quite tell because of the animation, because he didn't heal him anything. Oh well. The Temple's going for Hurricane Pike for extra mobility, which I do think is the right choice to make, but the BKB is very necessary on him, and the BKB has already been used, so... I mean, the BKB had to come out, but then now you're going for BKB plus a Hurricane Pike just to have the mobility and to not die. And that's not too great, because the Lich Commander will still hit you regardless of your BKB. The Hurricane Pike is not going to help too much against her, because she's going to initiate upon you anyway. And the Spectre, again, doesn't really care about your BKB too much, because you're only preventing the damage from the Radiance and the Fusel Blade, but the physical damage still comes out. So Sankey will still destroy you anyway, and the Hunt doesn't really care about that either. So, actually right now the Terror Blade is not in the best position. Okay, so Tony wasn't really listening to the Casco. No. And the 10,000 gold lead as well for Mongolz is not looking too good. If you look at the graphs, you'll see that Mongolz actually leading by a bit more than 10,000 now. And in terms of experience, they're already leading by 25,000 thanks to the Midas in this Invoker, I can only imagine, being the sole reason for this. I mean, in terms of levels, the guys who are under level is mainly the enemy supports, but the Terrorblade as well, who's someone that farms really well but has a hard time getting experience. Tinker similarly, with the March of the Machines, kind of AFK farms, but is not around to receive the experience. And oh, no Shadow Blade. They're not going to use the duel yet. Well, actually, they use their duel in the middle of borrow time just to keep the Abaddon there. It's a bit dangerous. The Sunstriker will hit anyway, but the borrow time is still active. This Haunt finally comes out, and they want to go on to push, and there's a reflection of every single Spectre. The Freezing Field also bringing Sankey down, but he has so much HP. He's just lasting the whole attack. Sunder hits the Invoker, but it's not going to heal the Terrorblade at all, and Korgo will just go down to Sankey's damage because they not have enough HP. Now Pushin is being pursued by the Spectre, the overwhelming odds to finish him off, and the only thing left here is an Abaddon whose Aphotic Shield's been popped and who's now been caught in the middle of a Deafening Blast Meteor. That is the extinction of the Abaddon race and a 13,000 gold lead for Mongolz, who will now be taking this tier 2 or tier 3 in the bottom lane. Are very happy with this engagement. The Alacrity helping as well, and Sankey just being healed a bit by the Prestige attack. No, Tenku wants to go into Sankey. Sankey doesn't really care much. The Boulder Smash misses completely. That was not a great Boulder Smash. And instead of going for the racks they could have taken, they decided to just wait a second. I can only presume. I mean, they forced buybacks, but this Rax was literally 2 hits away. Not like the Abaddon could have killed you in 2 hits, but I think that was unnecessarily defensive play when you could have just taken the melee Rax. Or at least go for the range Rax. If you don't do that little pussy play anyway, you can go for the range Rax, but in the end they got nothing out of it in terms of Rax. And the Spectre will die anyway. Okay. I don't know what to say to that play. The Spectre could have died here, taken these racks, died here, and had the same exact impact as going all the way into taking a weird route around the enemy jungle like a stroll, and being found out by the Nyx. Honestly, he would have had the same effect, except that in one case you would have given your farm to the Abaddon, in the other case you gave it to the Nyx. But same effect. So, unnecessary play. Really. And the heal, okay, good healing on the Invoker. Oh wow, the borrow time just to cancel the Tornado Initiation? Really? That's a borrow time already taken away, and there's no, I guess it's the cooldown reduction, so it's fine. But Arc can initiate whenever he wants. I mean, he did go for the minus Tornado cooldown, which is fantastic, by the way. Really good choice. He's not trying to finish up his Rock 3 core, but that is a very, very low Tornado cooldown. I believe it's 10 seconds. Tornado cooldown 6 with the 3 core or something like that. And with that, he's just able to, really push the movement. No, okay, it's 8 seconds to be up 3 core and 12 right now. The MP is also great for zoning out. It's really hard to push against an Invoker once he does have the levels. It's easy when you're... It's actually easier than a Tinker, but not too much. Oh, there they go. Onto the Korgo. And the rock has even been thrown. The Sunstrike is going to hit them terribly completely. And that laser will not come in time. Masquerade just getting that duel off and killing off the Terrorblade and preventing the Sunder from happening. Pushin now in trouble as he's being selected as a target of aggression. But Nyx Assassin got a triple stun. Fantastic impale there. However, the Crystal Manion's already dead. LFT, or their Tangle, cannot get that kill. And he will be destroyed eventually by the Invoker, who heals back up to full health using those Quaz Orbs and some help from the Warlock. And in the end, that's a 3 dead for 458. Who just give it up, while Sankey also catches out the Tinker in the bottom lane, using what I can only presume was a Hunt, yep, and being able to acquire now that Heart of Tarask. Another disconnection by the Terrorblade. That's the 6th pause of the game. Get to the point where you have to consider, is it worth it lasting this whole game, even though every single game is a pause, or every single 5 minutes we have a pause, and the enemy team is destroying us completely. Is it worth it? let's play the game. I don't know. I'm never going to ask a team to forfeit, obviously, but it is coming to the point where Mongolz seem to have the complete domination of the match. You are not taking good care of your team because obviously you're not playing at your master of your ability because the Terrorblade keeps getting disconnected. And you're actually severely under-leveled because of the nature of your heroes. Both Terrorblade and Tinker, like we said, are two heroes that excel at farming but don't excel at experience farming, which is actually a separate term, so believe it or not. Because the Tinker and the Terrorblade both kill things while them not being in the area, meaning they don't get that much experience. And though the experience seems like a dumb thing, the whole level argument that I had in the beginning was only if Spectre and Terrorblade reached that level 25 in the same second. If you consider this, a Terrorblade, for example, say they're both level 18, and it's per level. So the Terrorblade gets 1.4 extra agility per level. So that means that by level 18, assuming first level doesn't count, so it's 17 times 1.4, it would be... What's 17 times 4? What? 40... 68, so 6.8. So it would be a 23.8 difference. 23.8 difference in agility if they were both level 18. Okay, that's considerable. But if you... That's actually a lot. But if you consider the Spectre's level 25, instead of being a 23.8 difference, you see the Spectre actually was able to gain an extra 7 times 1.8. Which would be roughly 12.6. So instead of being a 23.8 difference originally that the Terrorblade had over the Spectre, 23.8, it's slowly gone down to an 11.2 difference in agility. More or less. I mean, mind you, my calculations aren't entirely right. I am doing this right on the spot. I'm not using a calculator or anything, but... So you get an idea. The 11.2 agility difference is not the same. So the Terrorblade really needs to reach those extra levels. And even though he is a bit more... has a bit more experience than has a bit more agility than the Spectre, theoretically, because of the stat gains, the amount of items the Spectre has also kind of counteracts that, because the Terrorblade does have a 7,000 gold difference between him and the Spectre. That's the question here. How do you even beat this in late game? You are fighting against a Spectre late game, you're not getting to your late game, because everyone gets to late game at a different time, obviously. And... right now you're stuck in a very difficult situation because because you have to get a kill on the Spectre without losing your Tinker or your Terrorblade. You have no buybacks on any of your heroes. They're probably going to have complete control over the Roshans, so you'll be able to get this Aegis on them. You even have an Invoker who is counter initiating you every time you initiate, so it's actually very hard. And on top of that, you have a Terrorblade who keeps disconnecting, making it so that the flow of the game is much, much harder. The resuming of the game of the Legion Commander, the wasting of time by Mongolz, though if they don't know that the enemy team doesn't have buybacks, they should be trying to forcing them, and if they do, they shouldn't know. Yeah, they don't know that the enemy team doesn't have buybacks, but they should be trying to forcing them anyway. It's surprising they decided to take this time to farm. Yes, you have the Spectre, but your late game is not like guaranteed either. You should really take advantage of this early game power that you've been able to do. And with this, guys and Mongolz will be able to take a tower in this mid lane. Yep, and that is an easy tower to be taken by ours. Really easy. With the alacrity damage, I mean, you can even give it to the Legion Commander. That's a waste of reflection as well, which is great for R, as now they can actually join in with the Legion Commander without much trouble. But instead they'll be going for the bottom lane so they can take the free racks before they have to take another tower. That's another initiation coming in. The Tornado catches it on 2. The poor Abaddon is just going to be losing all his mana. No, it's not going to hit it in time. Abaddon still has all the mana he needs. And they're just trying to push out the Sanke, but Sanke has the Heart of Thras, so he can actually push indefinitely. There's the Ice Wall as well to catch out the Abaddon. He just wasted his ultimate, so that's a duel guaranteed for him. The Deafening Blast also dealing a lot of damage, and the Abaddon will go down. The Sunder has already been used by Korgil. That means there's 40 seconds till the next Sunder, but they've already killed the Abaddon, get an extra duel, and taken down the laner racks that they were looking for. Right now, Mongolz not wanting to tempt fate with another initiation before they're entirely ready. They've already wasted, or they don't have the Warlock ultimate. However, the Invoker is still just annoying this lane, making sure that it stays pushed out. I mean, really, on the Legion Commander here is now going for the Silver Edge as well, which is going to allow them to kill the Abaddon much more efficiently. Meanwhile, the split push continues, and I really, really like this by R. They keep split pushing the lanes, ensuring that they're all prime and ready to push. Tinker is very annoying to deal with because he's actually going to outpush your lanes as much as possible. I'll push you in terms of lane pushing, so the lanes will never be close enough for you to take objectives. However, you prevent this by, well, doing exactly what the Invokers do it. And, like I said, they have complete control over the Roshan, so this is an easy kill. This should have been a Alacrity to the Legion, and Legion just hitting it with press the attack and moment of courage, by the way, because the press the attack deals with damage to the Alacrity, but whatever. I feel like people forget that Invoker's Alacrity can be used on another hero or something. Because here they're much better used on the Legion. It doesn't really matter. Just for the sake of efficiency, really just remember that. Plus 40 dual damage bonus, exactly what we were expecting on the Legion Commander. Now she's able to make some big duels, and every duel counts a lot now. And then, like we said, the strategy of the Alacrity plus Legion Commander will ensure that you push towers ridiculously fast. And with this, the Invoker will just lead down the middle lane. It seems like he has tornadoes for days, so it's not really a big problem. Yeah, looks like this harassment, EMP, tornado, shield as well. Definitely last available. He stuns himself out though against the next assassin, and the press the attack just to relieve him of the stun. As he starts pushing his tower, the Impale catches him. The Lincoln's has been broken by the mana burn. But the Reflection's also been used, and that's not entirely good. The Spectre, meanwhile, on the top lane starts pushing this tower. She does have the Aegis, so she's ready to fight, and she doesn't really care much. She has the Aegis and a Haunt and a buyback as well, so she is not only ready to fight. Oh, no buyback yet, but she should be able to get it with the tower. She's ready to fight 3 times, essentially. Having 3 lives on the Spectre is ridiculous in addition to a Haunt. So, okay, careful, though. Doesn't want to lose one of those things. That's stupid. However, this is the time for Mongolz to just completely drown the guys at 4, 5, 8. Take away all the possible farm, and take away all the items that they could be getting from this time. You know, just choke them completely in their base. Oh, no. This is really dangerous. LFT is... No, he was way out of position. The BKB being used. The Dagon does hit the Spectre, but doesn't really do much. The Spectre's already dead. Sorry, the Pix is already dead. A Tornado now comes in, hits the illusions. The BKB has been forced by the Terrible Blade, but the Tinker doesn't have such a thing, so he's gonna go down. Now they're forcing a buyback for the Tinker and the Nyx Assassin, and they want to continue fighting. Korgil has no BKB, so it's a time to fight. As the Tornado hits onto a Sunstrike, will finish off Korgil if it hits him in time. That's a perfect combination by R, and there's no buyback onto Korgil. The Hunt comes back, and Sanka is ready to fight. Now that he just lost his Aegis, he destroys the Tinker in a couple hits, and that's no buyback on the Tinker either. Mongolz are taking this game by the storm, and they are not letting 4, 5, 8 get back into it. They've lost the early game, they lost the mid game, they lost the late game, and now the GG has to be called because Mongolz, the Mongolian squad, will take the first game of this best of 2 against the Vietnamese 4, 5, 8 production, guys, and secure themselves 1 more point for this tournament, and 1 more loss for 4, 5, 8 production. That said, guys, hope you enjoyed the game. We will be back with game number 2 shortly. My name has been DSwordfish. I have been your caster for today. Enjoy some tunes while we wait for the next game to start up, and I'll see you guys next time with some more 4, 5, 8 versus Mongolz.